Under the white sun of late autumn, the auction yard swelled with dust and dry heat, thick enough to choke a man if he breathed too hard. Flies circled slow over sweat-drenched hides, over crates of rusted tools, over children clutching sour candy and watching the world fall apart in little pieces. The laughter came easy from the gathered men, coarse, hollow, familiar. It rolled like a tired song they'd sung too often. The auctioneer's voice cracked through it all, hawking off last-chance tools, tired mules, a busted wagon axle, and then the horse. Even before he called her out, folks turned. A hush of disgust, half pity, half scorn. She came out not walking, but dragged, her legs barely answering her weight, her ribs pressing sharp beneath a skin too loose for her body. White once, maybe, but now caked in the yellow-brown grime of survival. Her tail was knotted with burrs. Her mane had fallen in patches. One eye looked swollen half shut, the other watched the ground as if ashamed to look at men. Startin' at $5. Clyde Tucker shouted like it was a joke. $5 for the ghost horse. Dead weight. Best offer gets her bones and sorrow. No one spoke. A few chuckled. Judson Rourke did not laugh. He stood beneath the awning shadow, arms crossed, dust coating his boots and sweat prickling under his collar. 38 years and already a man whittled down to his quiet. The war had taken his brother. Fire had taken his father's house. Regret had taken what was left. What remained of Judd Rourke was lean and tired and slow-moving, like an old dog still watching the door. He watched the horse, though she didn't watch him. "I'll take her," he said, voice low but plain. Someone snorted. "You want that thing, Rourke? She's a breath from dropping dead." Clyde blinked, surprised. "Well, sold then. For nothin', duh." The rope was handed over. Judson didn't speak again. He just led her from the ring slow, careful not to pull, careful not to shame her further. The horse followed without question, because she had no energy to resist. Back at his ranch, half a day's ride and 4 months behind on taxes, Judson unhitched the mare and eased her toward the barn. Not the good stall, not yet. She didn't deserve high hopes. But she deserved shade, water, and silence. That's when he noticed it. Around her neck, loose beneath the crusted mane, a bit of twine held a folded paper. It had turned yellow at the corners, edges curled like burnt petals. He didn't untie it right away. Just stared. Something about it felt private, not his to open. Instead, he whispered almost to himself, "She don't need saving. Just someone who don't look away." The mare didn't lift her head. That night, after oats and clean cloth on her sores, after brushing her tail until his hands ached, Judson lit the hearth and sat with the folded paper in his palm. The fire hissed. Outside, coyotes screamed low and bitter across the open hills. He unfolded the note with a reverence most men gave to scripture. The handwriting was jagged. A child's hand, shaky and full of earnestness. "Please, if you find her, take care. She's the last good thing Mama touched." No name. No date. Just that. Judson stared long after the ink blurred. Then he stood and slid the note into the flames, watching it blacken, curl, disappear. The fire didn't crackle in triumph. It whispered like it understood. He named the horse Mercy. And Mercy did not die. For weeks, she lay more than she stood. He ground mash and cooled her legs with creek water. Talked to her the way he used to talk to wounded men. Quiet, no pressure, like time would listen. He watched her eyes for signs of will, and sometimes found them flicker. She'd lift her head a little when the wind stirred or when he lit the lanterns in the barn. Once, she nudged his hand with her nose, and he almost wept for it. Words spread like wood smoke. Judd Rourke's lost it. Took in a horse ain't got a prayer. Fools feeding a ghost. Maybe he sees himself in her. They weren't wrong. Dovey Bell showed up on the fourth Thursday, holding a sack of mash and a jar of honey salve. She didn't ask permission. Just stepped into the barn like it was a church. "She's hurting inside," Dovey said, brushing Mercy's neck. "Same as you." Judson didn't answer. He watched the light catch in her hair. Dovey had once stitched his shoulder shut when a rustler's bullet clipped him years ago. She never asked why he was bleeding, just sewed and sang a hymn low in her throat. She looked at the fire pit, saw the faint ashes of the note. Didn't mention it. "She's not just a horse," she said. "She's carrying something." "What?" "Whatever you don't want to." It was after Dovey left that the dreams began. Not of Mercy, but of a boy with a broken nose and long fingers, Judson's brother, Isaac. They'd fought the war together. Only one came back. Isaac had always believed people were worth saving. Judson believed in survival. That was their split. That's what made Isaac stay back in that burning house. Judd woke most nights sweating, the ghost smell of ash in his nose. Mercy wouldn't eat. She drank, moved a little more, but oats went untouched. He tried molasses, carrots, apples. Nothing. It was as if she wanted to live, but didn't believe she deserved it. One night, snow started to fall in a quiet hush. No wind. Just a soft descent, like the earth exhaling. Mercy hadn't moved all day. Judson knelt beside her, wrapped in a wool blanket, and pressed his forehead to her flank. "Don't go," he said into her skin. "You weren't supposed to leave too." Her breath warmed his shoulder. She didn't die. She got up the next day. Not fast. Not proud. But she stood, shook a little, and nosed the water pail like it might matter. Judson smiled for the first time in 5 winters. When Dovey came again, he didn't say a word. Just opened the gate for her. "I asked around," she said, setting down a sack of oats. "She's not from this county." But a stable boy over in Winthrop remembered her. Said a girl used to ride a pale mare just like her. Girl's name was Lida. Pretty. Stubborn. Said she got run off her land by the railroad men. Judson's spine stiffened. Had a child. Boy. Real small. Winter took him. Folks say Lida went half mad after. Then she was gone. Judson listened like a tree listens to wind. Quietly, deeply. "That note," Dovey said, watching him, "might have been his." He didn't reply. Just walked into the barn, saddled Mercy slow. The horse didn't flinch. Her body had filled out some, no longer skeletal, but lean and wary. She moved like a whisper of what she'd been, and a hint of what she could be. They rode in silence across the snow-laced prairie. No sound but hooves pressing into crusted frost. Pines rose like guards on either side of the trail. The sky above was ash-colored, the kind of gray that swallows time. They reached the edge of a ravine, where the remnants of a burned cabin still lived in the earth. Charred wood. Blackened stone. Snow drifted between what used to be walls. Judson dismounted. Walked to the center. Dug with bare hands until he hit soft dirt beneath the ice. He didn't speak, didn't cry. He just reached into his coat and pulled out what he'd saved from the fire. A scrap, not the full note, just the word Mama, singed at the edge. He buried it like a blessing. Mercy stepped forward, nose brushing the earth, and then the air. She let out a low sound, almost a sigh. "You're the last good thing she touched," he whispered. "That means you get to live." They rode back as the sun broke through clouds, spilling gold over the hills. Spring came hard and early. With it, the town's fair, ribbons and pie, fiddles and dust. Judson never went, but that year he brought Mercy. She was still thin, but her coat shone like pale pearl in the light. Children ran to pet her. She didn't flinch. One girl asked to ride. Judson hesitated. Mercy looked at him, then bowed her head. The child climbed on. Mercy walked a slow circle, deliberate and kind. The preacher watched, hand trembling at his chest. Later he approached Judson and said, "I baptized Lida's boy, you know. Never knew what happened after." Judson didn't reply. He just nodded once. Dovey came up beside him, quiet as always. She watched the horse. The children. The light. "That horse changed you," she said. He shook his head. "No." She remembered me. I forgot who I was. Later, in the chapel, the preacher hung a frame near the door. Between two panes of glass was a torn piece of paper, burnt, fragile. A child's words preserved, "She's the last good thing Mama touched." Below it, carved into the wood, "Mercy still lives." And in the barn that night, with wind rustling the hay and a storm murmuring over the hills, Judson leaned against the post, watching Mercy sleep. Then something strange. From the darkness outside came a slow knock. Soft. Hesitant. Not the kind of knock meant for warning. The kind meant for hope. He rose, slowly, opened the door. A girl stood there, maybe 16, coat 2 sizes too big, freckles across her nose. And in her hand, a folded scrap of paper. She looked up with wide, tired eyes and said, "You found her, didn't you?" Judson didn't speak. Couldn't. Because sometimes the past comes back not to haunt, but to ask if it's safe to stay. Before we start, tell me where you're viewing from in this vast world. Leave your city or country in the comments. I love seeing the reach of these Wild West stories. Now take a seat. Video.